What's up, everybody? Welcome to Swaggy Vet Podcast. I'm your host, Big Pan. I got my co-host and my brother here with me. First Swaggy Veteran. What's up, my man?
What's going on, Big Pan, the Swaggy Vets, and all their friends and family? What's going on out there?
Man, we got an amazing guest today. Amazing guest. One of our brothers from the 82nd Airborne Division, 13 Fox, former Mr. Texas bodybuilding. If you go look Mr. Texas, you're going to see him. And U.S. Olympic Bobsled Team. You know, you can't get better than that. But we're going to bring to the stage my boy, U.S. Army veteran, Luis Moreira.
Riddle me that. The rest of y'all know where I'm lurking. Can't none of y'all mirror me back.
Happy to be on.
What's up, my man?
Hey, man, just living life. Living the life.
I know, man. Hey, last time I talked to you, you was getting your master's degree. Now you done got it.
Yeah. Hey, the GI Bill's a great thing, man. I took advantage of it. Squeezed every lemon every drop that lemon had. Yeah.
There you go, man. That's what I'm talking about. That's good. But hey, man, you know, we gotta start it off. You know, we're gonna go ahead and take it back because you've been doing, you know, bodybuilding. You do CrossFit. But back in high school, man, you was a dominant in the hurdles.
Yeah, it's wild because that seems like another lifetime ago. You know, high school at that time, 23 years ago now. It's, you know, at the time I thought I knew everything and that was my life. Track and field was my life, and I thought that's what I was going to do. You know, I only ran track to get faster for football. I love to run. This is a must. I got to run track, and I just ended up jumping over the hurdles one day during training when like the coach had him out. Just me being a kid, not doing what he's supposed to, and I just started jumping hurdles and kind of caught his eye. He said, "Wait, do that again." And so that was my sophomore year. And that year I won the sophomore freshman state meet, broke the record, and I became a hurdler, you know, sprinter, hurdler, long jumper. And yeah, high school was a good career. I was 3-time state champ, New England champ. I held the state record for 11 years in the state of Mass. Finished second in the nation as a senior. And then, you know, thought I'd go off to college to run track.
Okay. What positions you say you did track for football. What'd you play position in football?
Yeah, so football was a receiver and I played free safety. Pretty much
man.
Come off the field, yeah. Actually had a couple of offers to play football, but
okay.
Track is all I cared about, and all the football offers that could come in, they all wanted me to go to prep school and work on my grades. I had this mentality that I'm the state champ. I don't need good grades. You know, part of its guidance, you know, I had first generation immigrant parents. You know, they came from the farmlands in Portugal. They didn't know how to coach me up for college. So not casting blame, just, you know, I was just trying to figure it out, and I thought, you know, a little hot-headed, I'm the state champ, I don't need grades. And I found out quick there's someone just as good as you with better grades out there. You know, it's a really competitive country, a lot of talent out there.
Okay. So you like, boom, do some track, play some football, and then you say you got some offers, but ultimately you said, you know what, the military is for me. So
yeah, so I took an athletic scholarship out of high school to run track. I ran a year, did really well. I won the Rookie of the Year conference award, but shortly after, it just wasn't going well. And I think that's kind of when it hit me. I was a senior during 9/11. September 9/11, I was a senior right away at the beginning of the school year. And so fast forward to when I'm running track in college, and just I was having a tough time in school. I wasn't passing my classes, although I was doing well with track, but kind of just hit me, you know, watching the news. I remember specifically watching Dick Wolf, CNN, all the troops deploying to Iraq. I was like, wow, I think I want to take part in this. And it just had a moment of reflection. Growing up, I watched so many war movies, and I always hypothetically said to myself, I could see myself doing that if I had to. I think that's awesome to serve your country, you know, do something really special in that sense. And it kind of just all hit me, and it happened so fast. I walked into a recruiter's office January 2006, and within 3 weeks, I was shipped off to basic training, and within 12 months, I had boots on ground in Afghanistan.
Holy crap!
Yeah, my mom did not take it well. My dad was partly took it well, but also kind of, I'm a man. I'm not going to give you that sentimental feeling thing. And so my dad was the equivalent of a Green Beret in Portugal. So he was a paratrooper. And so that's what inclined me to go airborne. Yeah.
Okay. And then so you were airborne. What MOS they give you?
I chose 13 Fox, Fort Observer. I didn't know anything. I walked in, I said, hey, I want to fight, sign me up. He was like, this is the easiest recruit ever. We got a track star. He's clearly going to pass his PT test. And he showed me a video of 13 Fox and it looked so cool. And you know what? I got to live out that video. I really did.
That's awesome, man.
How was Airborne School for you?
Yeah.
I didn't think it was, the physical aspect was not hard at all, even running with the A group, if they still do that. But it was getting up 3:30 in the morning, staying on the rocks for no reason. That's the stuff I was starting to understand. It's all a game, right? And that maybe at first I'd talk a bunch of crap and be like, this is so stupid. Why are we doing this? I didn't understand the logic, the concept, what they were doing to us. But I in the end, I had a blast. I didn't want to leave. I think this is cool. Like, why can't we jump more? Why can't we go to the towers again? That sort of thing. Why can't we do more obstacle courses? Why are we running so much? That sort of thing. But yeah, Airborne School was cool. It was cool.
And so after you got done with, so you said you went to Airborne School, and how long was it before you was already in Afghanistan?
Yeah, so I went to basic training in March, and then so basic training, AIT, Fort Sill, Oklahoma, and then Airborne School, and then I was at my unit at 4th Brigade, 82nd in September, and then January 2007, 4th Brigade deployed to Kandahar.
Oh, man,
for a 15-month deployment.
Yeah,
and that deployment was wild. I didn't know what I was getting into. All the veterans, like E4 and above, they're all talking about the prior deployment they did to Iraq and how much they were getting after with firefights. All I heard about was Haqqaniya, Ramadi, the Triangle of Death, Fallujah, and all these stories. And I'm like, okay, like just completely innocently oblivious to what I'm actually going to get into. I don't know. I guess that was a good thing. I was like, yeah, cool. That sounds good. Can't wait. Yeah. And next thing you know, I'm in it. I'm flying over there.
How old was you at this time?
I was 23. Yeah, 23.
Oh man.
23
So
on your first deployment.
Yeah. So my E5 was older than me, my sergeant.
And you was rank. What was your rank?
E1.
Crazy.
Oh,
I was private. Yeah, E1.
And you was the Fort Observer.
Yeah, well, so when you're in E1, E2, you're the RTO. So there's
Right.
a Fort Observer. So I was the RTO that deployment.
Okay, so you're the RTO at this point.
Yeah, so I mean, I have to know my job. You're the one running the mic. You better not fluster, get confused, or you're not going to.
So walk me through this. So as an E1, you deployed. Who's controlling the mic?
Me.
Right, but you're falling behind who? The LT or the platoon sergeant?
I'm with the LT, the medic, and in my FO, the E5. Right. And typically the platoon sergeant's in the rear with weapons squad. Right.
And explain to me what the FO's job is. Yeah.
So manage all indirect assets. So you get into a gunfight. So I was attached to an infantry platoon. We're out and about. You get into a gunfight. The FO is responsible for any type of mortars, 60s, 120s, 155. Oh, sorry, 60s, 81s, and 120s, or the artillery, the 105s, the 155s, and then attack aviation, right? Apaches, Kiowas, and then also coordinating with the TOC to communicate with the fighter jets, with the CAS.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
you have to learn the map pretty well. Yeah,
you got to be good with math. You got to be pretty good with math. Multitasking, right? Huge. So like if you have an attack helicopter coming one way, you got artillery rounds coming another. You got to do what they call airspace deconfliction measures. Keep X asset west of grid line Y and so forth, right? There's altitude, elevation things. You gotta know where all your plant targets are, where all other friendly friendlies are. It gets pretty complicated, and thankfully, so we went through so much good training. So when I got into it, I did really well. And I was in E3 as an FO already by the end of that deployment.
You was E3 at the 15-month mark.
Yeah, we did that Musakala mission. Remember, you were around, right?
Yeah,
Brad? Yeah. So by then I was running the FO duties.
And how'd you keep the stress level down?
Man, I guess as the deployment went on, you just become a part of something, like a true family, a true brotherhood. These are guys I barely even knew what they wore in their civilian life, their civilian clothes, and you really get to like make a connection with a human, and you spend so much time together. And so I had a sense of purpose. I believed what I was doing. At the time, I believed we're there and we have a purpose. We're fighting radical terror, right? And I just thrived in that environment. It's long marches, heavy rucks, and you're fighting bad guys, and you're getting in the fight, and then you're going back to Kandahar, you're refitting, you spend a week or two, and then we'd go off to the next town, and so forth. All based off military intelligence. They'd send us to a town, you got Taliban activity over here, and off we go, and it just became like clockwork. Yeah, I guess I just enjoyed it, and I enjoyed it because I was good at it. One of the coolest feelings I ever had was coming back from a mission when you walk into the talk and the colonel is like, "I know who you are. Great job." Like that's badass. Like I was efficient. I knew my job. I used my assets to protect the men, and we won. Right? It was the coolest freaking thing when you're flying back home in an Apache or a Chinook, and you're like, "That was fucking badass. We took no casualties. We eliminated the bad guys." And then we helped rebuild the town, gave them a mosque, built some bridges, made sure we're not there to harm them. We're there to help.
So with the first deployment, was this when you received your Bronze Star, or was it?
No, that was the second one. That was my second go around. That was another 12-month deployment.
So you was out there a total 27 months.
Yeah, 27. Yeah, it was a 15-month deployment. And we came back for a year, and then we went back for 12. Now, it wasn't always like a clear path to like make rank and have success. I had some troubles. PT was easy for me, but I had a problem with a little bit of discipline issues, where being on time, wearing the right uniform, all the little things that really irk leaders in garrison, right? And then, dude, my squad leader finally figured me out, and he knew how to correct me. And yeah, man. And that's when I started to understand what leadership is, right? There are different leadership styles for different people. You can't just yell at someone and expect them to listen. It's not gonna hit, right? And this dude, he punished me by taking away the gym. He's like, "No PT for you, Moreira. You were gonna sit in this cot, read your FO book while your buddies go to the gym." And it ate me alive. And I reflected like, son of a gun. He did it. I'm never going to be late again. You got it. And it just clicked. And then from there, I finished out the deployment, did really, really well. And when I came back to garrison, so that puts us April of 2008, right? 8. And that whole summer and fall, all these new E1s, E2s that came in, I just scooped them up and I just took charge, and they loved it. I was in E4 helping run platoon PT. And then right away, they sent me to WLC, right? Warriors Leader course. They probably call it something else now. And I made E5. And then I deployed as an E5. A couple months later, I made E6. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So it's awesome. You're a hero for being a Bronze Star recipient, by the way. So thank you for your service.
Thanks, man. I never expected the award. To me, I was just doing my job, right? I was just doing my job. So every now and then I go and read the write-up, and I'm like, holy crap, that's right, that happened. But I think the reason why I've been able to transition to the civilian world so well is because my mind my brain has fogged some of these experiences that are traumatic, right? Our brains don't like trauma and it tries to figure out a way. You know, I didn't cope with alcohol. I just had a plan to get out and move on. And I think staying away from military movies, history documentaries in my first couple of years, I just masked it and just went about my life and created new memories. And over those 3 or 4 years, I think my brain just like deleted the memories because I can't remember many things. I don't want to say deleted. I really do want to use the word mask, because if I get around my brothers and they bring up memories, then I remember. It's only during anniversaries or like holidays, like Memorial Day, then a couple nightmares will happen and it comes back to me. Then I'm right back to moving. Not many things get me triggered. I'm fine in public, but I think being able to forget those memories is what led me to really transition.
Can you mind sharing what happened?
Yeah, so like, well, there was one time, it was on Easter Sunday, we were out and about, and this is my second tour, and we couldn't do anything without the Afghan National Police or the Afghan National Army. They had to be attached to us, and we're trying to teach these guys. There are cultural barriers, there are language barriers, they smoke a lot of hash. There's only a couple that really want to make a difference. The rest are a bunch of goons, right? That's just what it was. And so we told them specifically, like, bro, don't go off our tracks. Stay on our tracks. We have a mine detector in front of the Humvee. Just cool it. And these cowboys run off on their own and hit several IEDs. Like, there's just stuff flying everywhere. We pull up. We try, and then it was literally, instead of doing an Easter egg hunt, we're doing a body egg hunt. Like, it was Mr. Potato Head. And we're piecing together all these guys, and it was so graphic. There was gasoline pouring on one of those guys' brains, and he's looking at me like, "Fix him." I'm like, "Fix him?" But it's not the thing, homie. And that stuff lives in your head, and these aren't even American bodies, right? It could have been so much worse. But and little did we know, of course, we knew the ambush was coming. Picking up all these parts, and then we spend the rest of the day out there dealing with that. But I think every mission there was some sort of contact. Now I just remembered my very first time in a firefight. So go back to my first deployment. We were in the Sangin Valley, and it's early, it's the break of dawn. We're up on a compound roof, mud hut, and the poppies are beautiful. First time I ever seen poppies. It's crazy that plant makes heroin, right? That's wild. Platoon sergeant, I was like, all right, buckle up, here it comes. I'm like, here what comes? And no shit, sorry, the morning prayer right over the loudspeakers, and within minutes, here come the rounds, and I'm on the roof taking zoom right over me. I'm like, oh my god, this is really happening. Like, I'm in a firefight. I felt like I was in a movie, guys commanding, suppressive fire going on. I'm like, and then from there, it was easy to just don't think, fall back on your training, get on the net, report where the fire's coming, get your assets online and engage, get clearance, and then boom. And then you just go through the motions. And the next thing you know, we're down there doing BDA, right? Battle death assessment, counting up the bodies. Like, that one's mine, that one's mine, no, that one's mine. We're arguing about it. And you're like, what the heck just happened? And then you basically move on, and there he goes, another fight. We spent the whole day just fighting. And at the end of the day, you finally get a chance to eat and kind of like collect yourself. You got dirt in your nails, you smell awful. You're wondering if you have enough rounds left, and everyone's doing resupply missions and all this, and you all just kind of regroup, and you're like, whoa, what did I just do? And so, like, then when you go out a second time, now I have a reference point of what could happen. So it's almost worse, right? But I just fell in line, and I just did really well with all that under fire and staying cool and calm. Yeah.
Were you able to go back to your training, and like, what kind of mortars did y'all have? The 120s out where you were at?
Yeah, we had the 120s a lot. Most of the time, I loved using 60s because the element was close to us. They're easily maneuverable. Yeah. And they don't make a huge splash. But if you get the mortars behind them, you can corral them in and get them closer to your supporting fire. And so I loved 60s.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. You got a chance to walk some 60s in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's easy.
That's cool, man. We had a when I was on the Colonel's PSD, we had a Ford Observer. He was a rock star, and I like
Cool.
watching you guys do what you do, man.
Yeah, it's a fun job. That's cool.
Yeah. On your second deployment, so you got to implement a lot of your leadership skills with the guys.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, from everything to just talking to guys, how to handle themselves, how to get ready to leave. You know, once you're there, how to compartmentalize yourself. When you have downtime, make the most of it. You know, find peace in doing something you like. You know, and if that's video games, that's fine. Play some video games. But being out and about, just showing guys that, reiterating the training. This is what happens in this situation, right? And if that fails, then what do you do? And you constantly just kind of, I don't want to say quizzing the guys, but you're putting them in hypothetical situations, and you just work through it over and over again, and you find a way to relate to people, and then so I wasn't a leader that was feared. I really wanted to be a loved leader, right, versus being feared, and I thought that was my approach.
Okay, good, man.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody's got their own leadership style. Some guys are, you know, knife hand, do this, do that. And then some guys are just like, hey, check this out, man. You treat them how you want to be treated. That's kind of like how I was. So your second deployment, you got to implement some of your leadership styles. Did you have any troops that were rock stars? You're like, man, I was able to coach and mentor him, and look at how this guy turned out, or something to that effect. Yeah.
I had one guy. He was in our HQ element in our platoon of the infantry scouts. He was never an issue. Always did what he was told. Wanted to be there. Ended up getting out. Married a rock star wife. They're doing really well. They have like a real estate business in Pennsylvania, and I see him once a year for a golf tournament. So it's always nice to catch up with him. And it's nice when he tells me, like, dude, listen, I know I never really told you, but you made a big impact in my life, and it's nice to hear, you know, because I meant it. Yeah. But also, real quick, I had guys who weren't good, pain in the butts. One guy, man, he was a problem, running off, marrying the first girl he met, right? Doing all these things, buying that car at 30% APR, right? All these things are happening to me. Like, crap.
He met somebody at the infamous Sharkies.
Yeah, that's exactly what he did. I caught her in the barracks and everything. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they tore that down. Sharky.
They did. I saw. That's wild. A staple.
So boom. So let's talk about your bodybuilding. I know you you probably started lifting when you were in high school, for football,
right,
and all that. So it kind of carried into your military. How did that complement your military career, and compare it to the training with athletes?
Yeah, absolutely. So I knew I wanted to get out of the Army, and I wanted to do two things. I wanted to do bodybuilding shows and get my education.
There you go.
All my downtime between missions was just pumping iron, man. Put my headphones in, go to the calf gym and unplug. And you just, like, for the next hour and a half, I'm just in bliss of just pumping. And I would just get Flex magazines at the PX and just copy those workouts. Ronnie Coleman, Jay Cutler, just go do it. And so, you know, fall in love with Arnold, looking at all these things, and you start posing by yourself, getting yelled at by staff sergeant. Maria, what are you doing? Right before I got out, so it was at Bragg. I was like about to go on terminal leave, and I just copied a diet right from a magazine. Did the North Carolina State show as an open athlete. Should have been in the novice division, didn't know it better, so I went up against actual guys who knew what they were doing. But did okay, finished top 5, and knew I wanted to continue this. I liked the best thing about bodybuilding post-military was the regimented structure it made you fall in line with, right? Your meals and your training, and if you cheat, like, no one's gonna know. You're gonna know, and how do you live with that, right? Like, what are you gonna tell people you didn't cheat? I messed up on my diet, or my diet wasn't good. I should have posed more. No, bro, you were eating cookies, right? You didn't do your cardio.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And so I loved the structure, the discipline. Getting up, doing your cardio, and I'd go off to class. After class, I would go train, and then eventually I started picking up personal training athletes. It just became natural where folks would ask me, I'd kindly give them advice, and then it just turned into, hey, Lou, if you want to work here, just pay me $300 a month and you take the rest. And next thing you know, I have like 5, 8, 10 clients a week. And for the next 3 years, I was full-time student competing in bodybuilding shows and training clients.
I remember when you was doing your YouTube, you had this monster back workout you did, and I followed that back workout for a while. And
cool.
I was able to do some lift some heavy weights following your back routine, man.
Yeah. I never, I don't really post on YouTube anymore, but all those videos, they're still live on there. I still get comments on some of those.
Absolutely. So boom, you get out, you got your clients, and then you competed in the Mr. Texas, right? The Texas Championship is super heavyweight.
Yeah, I competed in that show twice. So in the summer of 2013, I finished second. Okay. And I knew I was going to come back. I was like, I got to win this show. So that's the summer. And then as that winter came, 2014 was the Winter Olympics in Sochi, Russia. And I saw bobsled on TV. I was like, whoa, right? Who are these dudes? They're jacked. They're fast. They wear spandex. I wear man thongs. Whatever. I could go to spandex, right? And so I kind of spent a couple weeks learning about the sport. How do you get into it? What are their backgrounds? What's it like? And then I was like, I'm going to do it. But first, I got to go back and win that show. So January 2014, I spent the next like 8 months kind of get ready for another bodybuilding show. Looked awesome. Didn't have any injuries, didn't have any setbacks. Really enjoyed the process. I don't miss how much pain you go through getting that lean, because it just hurts. Man. It just hurts, man. And it's just you versus you. You start to rationalize. Oh, I'll just do a little more cardio tomorrow. I want to go home and sleep. No, man, you need to be accountable. Having a coach and a good coach to keep you accountable is very important. Look, I had a good coach. And yeah, dude, I won the show. It was awesome. And then I was like, all right, I don't want to be a bodybuilder. Like, I don't want to go pro. The amount of like supplements that you have to use, it's not healthy. There's no money involved in bodybuilding. It's like, I can't even wash my own back and I have to get bigger. No thanks. No thanks, man. I knew I wanted to do bobsled. And then, so the next 6 months were tough. Relearning how to sprint, being functional again, right? An actual athlete, if you will. Yeah. Being explosive and running plyometrics and sprinting. So a couple injuries, ruptured calf, ruptured bicep. But managed to go to the combine. They took me to the combine and I made the ODP, the Olympic development team. And then at that point, when I got to meet some of the crew, existing 60 members, asking them what it takes, and everybody had the same message. You can't put your foot in here. You can't do this and have a job. It's all in. It's too competitive. There's too many people that are too good and have the time, talent and work ethic, right? So then I gave it everything up. I packed up my car, my F-150 in Dallas, and drove to Lake Placid, New York, where the Olympic Training Center is, and I moved in. Yeah.
Do you think when you were training, just not to backpedal, but I'm just real curious, to win Mr. Texas, man, that's not easy to do, brother. And do you think, being in the 82nd, having that discipline and all your, training up to there, do you think that have helped you with the discipline it took to win?
100%. There's just so many times where we're humans, we rationalize, we become weak, but falling back on all the training and all the experiences I've been in, like what am I going to complain? I have to eat chicken and rice. I can go home, take a hot shower, go to bed. Yep. I can be with my lady and have a great night, wake up and put on clothes, enjoy the sun. What's so bad, right? So the perspective is huge compared to regular folks. I say regular folks, regular folks. it's just different mentality. So of course there was countless times you just fall back on those memories and you're like, whatever, man, I'm gonna go home, shower, and go to bed.
Well, I mean, not to downplay it, but you know, you were in the 82nd, where America's 911.
That's right. Yeah.
So that's you're definitely not regular folks. You've done a lot of good things. So
we were the 1%, right, of our population. That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
So why bobsledding?
Well, you know, it's an explosive. Well, it was really a reason to continue being an athlete. Like at that point, I was 30 years old, and I said, "This is my last chance to like do something athletically." Right? I didn't get to outlive my track career and perform as in my peak years. You know, I don't want to go work. I want to do something else. Like my GI Bill ran out. I did my undergrad. I did my master's. So I did my master's during my rookie year. It was all that same year. But it's like, well, now what? No, I want to be an athlete. I want to do something. Like, what's the next thing I want to do? Right? I was on that whole charge post-military of like just enjoying my freedom to like pursue whatever I wanted. And I was young, and I had nothing tying me down really. I didn't have children. I didn't have anyone I needed to take care of in that sense. And I saw the sport. I thought this is cool. And when I went up there and I went and did a run, and I was like, yeah, I want to go to the Olympics. How cool is that? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why not?
Why not?
But you said when you got on there, you said you had to first start off with the a certain type of team because of your injuries.
I was already over those. Yeah, the injuries was leading up to the combine, and then the combine was it was off the ice. It was just like an NFL type thing where you're not playing football. You're just doing all the things, right? So
you packed up your truck, you went and you moved in, and what was the location again?
Lake Placid, New York.
Lake Placid, New York. And can you talk to me? How was that? Like you stayed? How was the training? Was there any type of challenges you was facing? Because I know it was all fairly new. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like from a bodybuilder to you know have to learn all type of stuff.
Yeah, I did. I had to learn a sport, but bobsled's not something you grow up doing. There's no bobsled league. You can't go to Dixon.
I'm thinking like, why bobsled? Like that's
yeah, it's all a sport people do after their athletic career. So I'm up there dealing with NHL guys, US rugby, US track, NFL guys. And then here comes like this veteran dude. Whatever. The hardest thing, / most interesting dynamic of bobsled is that your best friends are also the guys competing for your job. So that's really a fine line of like, still to today, they're my best friends. They were at my wedding. I see them twice a year, but the bobsled only has 4 slots, right? And one of them's a pilot. So there's 3 slots per sled. There's typically 2 sleds, sometimes 3, depending on funding and performance, but essentially 6 slots, and you got 24 guys. A lot of people are going home. And so thankfully, when you get rated, it's very objective. It's on paper, this guy is against the clock. There's no politics. But if you got 3 or 4 guys that are within a blink of an eye, how do you choose that guy? And then now it comes down to team cohesion on how you blend on a team. Because you 4 guys are pushing a sled, you have to be on the same page. You have to get in super fast, get in, get down, know the track, know the map, know how to bob and go with the track. We're our own NASCAR crew. We do our own maintenance. We have to know how to manage sleds, how to handle it for the pilot so he doesn't have any stress, so he can just worry about driving. And but to back up, when I first got there, one of my first runs, we crashed, and it hurt.
Wow.
I crashed and it hurt. And the first thing I do is I go back up at the top. I was like, hey, we crashed, and we go again. And that's when they were like, all right, I think we got a bobsledder, because they run for the hills. Like that 6 G's of force, you got a 500-pound sled on your head, and you're grinding on the ice, crashing at 80 miles an hour. But I'm an adrenaline guy. I was a paratrooper. Let's go. Let's go. Let's get again, right?
Let's go.
Bobsled is a crazy sport, man. When I was on the national team, we're up in Whistler, Canada, just north of Vancouver, and that is the fastest track in the world. The track's record is 100 miles an hour, 101 or so. Just ripping. And we crashed going 85, and two guys had concussions. My pilot, the cowling is made out of fiberglass. He hit his helmet so hard. Now we wear like $1,000 motorcycle helmets. Like, this is good stuff. It broke his visor, and the cowling made out of fiberglass was like a millimeter from his eye. He would have lost his eye, ripped. But he's just sitting there looking at it. And the guy in front of me is concussed and passed out. So we got a sled on top of us, down the sled. And typically when you crash, you want to kick out of the sled, right? To kick out so you're free and you know. But when I'm looking at my buddy out just dangling, I had to like lock him in, because if I kick out, he could break his neck, hurt his spine, get seriously injured. So I locked him in. By locking him in, it put more stress on my rib cage, and like I broke a couple ribs. Yeah, wild. And going back and watching the track has footage. They have cameras in every corner, and we would watch it. And I still have some of the videos. It's just wild. And we were just eager to get back in the sled and then like compete against them again the next weekend. But concussion protocols, we couldn't compete. But yeah, I got a cortisone shot. I was like, let's go. They're like, hold on. It really is a tough sport. You're outside in the blistering cold for hours, you know, running on just whatever food you can get. And then you warm up, you strip off, and you go, deal with the sled, get back up. It's very competitive. Races, first and third place, are separated by hundredths of a second. So this tiniest little movement can mess you up. And it's all about the push start, right? You get fast guys to rocket you, and then it comes down to the pilot driving. Sometimes pilots can make up slow starts, but the winners have both.
Did they say why you crashed? Was it a malfunction in the heart sled? Huh?
Our pilot just took a run. He just stared around.
Okay.
We love him though.
Yeah.
He was actually a gold medalist in Vancouver 2010 Winter Olympics as a push athlete. Then he transitioned into the pilot's seat. So that year he was a rookie pilot, and he took on 3 rookie push athletes. So it was 4 rookies in a sled. Something was bound to happen, right?
What so when you weren't actually practicing doing bobsledding, what kind of training did you do, like in the gym? So you kind of got away from the bodybuilding, you kind of working on your go muscles instead of your show muscles.
Yeah, that was the funnest part, right? You're training for performance. I mean, I when I was training in bobsled, I could literally run through a wall. All summers when you get your bulk of your training, and it's all, sprints, like short sprints, sled, put a sled behind you and just tow it, full sprints, tons of power cleans and like jump squats, lots of plyometrics, hurdle hops, that sort of thing. Like I remember, we're living at the OTC, so we are truly best friends. On Sundays is our rest day. We'd be in the gym having a dunk contest, things like that. I'd have to use the girls' ball because I can't palm the real ball. But we're talking. I'm weighing 230 doing windmills because we're so explosive, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Can't do that now. Not no more. Not no more. But yeah, the training was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
That's good. And I bet it was like kind of like almost a deployment, because you're there with the guys all the time and you're working out, you're training. So you must have had to build that camaraderie, kind of like being deployed. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the same type of thing. And it filled such a void, right? So many guys get out and have a hard time because they don't have a sense of purpose. And I get it. And bobsled filled that, the whole bucket. It was awesome. I still miss things in the military, right? Like all the things I'd complain about, I could go for a battalion run with the guys and hooting and hollering. That's cool. Going to the range, rocking to the range, shooting, qualifying, all that stuff. But bobsled really did give me a sense of purpose, because you had objective targets that you had a structure, right? I went military, then I went bobsled, a lot of structure. Then I was a bodybuilding, then I went bobsled, and here we are again, something so regimented and extremely competitive. Like, geez, there were so many good guys up there. Yeah.
So you went up there, you're training, and you said you were simultaneously going to school with SMU.
Yeah, so I had finished SMU. I did my undergrad in Dallas in 3 years. I just did well in school, compared to before. I was older. I wanted to be there. You know, with age comes wisdom. I didn't really have a relationship with the student body. I was hanging out with the professors, you know, in their lounges, microwaving my bodybuilding meals. Like, hey, professor, you got a fork? Like, I had a relationship with them more than students, but knocked it out. And then I had time left on the GI Bill. I was like, what can I do with this? Can I cash it for money, like a credit card rebate? But no, I applied for business school in LA, and I commuted to LA, which was it was very hard because I was commuting to class, managing my training, and then doing that for the combine and all that. And then finally, I graduated USC, and then I was all hands on, 100% on bobsled.
Okay. How was it getting your MBA? What are some challenges doing that? Yeah.
So the coolest part about what USC did is it's an MBA, but they classified it as an MBV, so a Master of Business for Veterans. So they took the MBA, they took the MBA curriculum. They grouped all the veterans. They're like, hey, you want to do this? Cool. And so I had a classroom with 80 people of just vets, officers, NCOs, all branches, a lot of experience, and it's a lot of people that have been out and already have jobs, or like are transitioning out, a little bit of that too. And what they did is they took our military leadership and they taught us how to convert it to the corporate sector, right? And so a lot of those courses were fun. Like our communications class, we would do these practical exercises like, you can't talk to people like that. There are no nice hands, and you know, there's a lot of laughs in some of those courses. But we had a lot of awesome guest speakers, retired generals and stuff. But a lot of it was challenging, like managerial accounting. I had a rough time with that course. But as long as you go and give it some effort, you're gonna be fine. And my first semester actually juggling bobsled, I had a 2.9 GPA, and I was actually on academic probation. And they're like, listen, we know you have your hands full with everything, but if you don't have the 3.0, you're gonna have to either go to summer school or figure it out. And I was like, I got this, don't worry. So then the spring semester starts. This bobsled season ended, right? That was my rookie year. February, the season ended. So from February to May to June, I was like all about grad school, and I just did my training and stuff. Had a 3.6 GPA, had an average high enough to graduate. Yeah, felt really good about that. They were really happy, and ended up having to getting asked to speak and share my experience with new MBV students and how do you juggle things, because a lot of those guys had questions about, I got a family, I have a job, how do I do this? And they'd actually asked me to come in and talk about it, which was cool.
Is USC is that exclusive to USC, or do other schools kind of do that too? Because that's a really good program to kind of facilitate veterans.
Yeah, I believe other schools have started doing it, but USC is the place to go for it. They've done really well. The Trojan Network really is awesome, and that's part of the coolest thing you can get out of grad school. It's not what you learn from books. It's just the people you get exposed to, the life experiences you get to share. Again, the people you meet, and the opportunities that come from that. Right? It gives you more experience. It gives you more wisdom, and you kind of just take that and you grow with it. Right? Yeah, sure. I learned about business practices and how to write an email. But the more important part was the networking and growing from it.
That's awesome, man. So what's your motivation behind choosing a sales tech at, what is it, SAS?
Yeah, so that's SaaS, software as a service.
Okay. How's that?
So I sell software in the multifamily industry. Think big apartment complexes, so all their data for them to look at their competitors and what they're doing, how to adjust their rents, how to offer sales, and how to take advantage of certain spikes in the season, people moving in, people moving out, all that stuff. It's a software that helps you with that. I can sell any kind of software. I'm not passionate about multifamily, but I like sales. I think I'm good with people and I do well. It allows me a lot of freedom to essentially make my own schedule, right? It's all about when me and the client can meet during business hours, early mornings, nights, and weekends. I'm off. And I'm good at it. It's sales, as we know, it pays really well when you do well, right? I have my base pay, and then I have my commission. And as long as you meet quota, you're gonna do really well. It's very easy to pull 200K when you meet quota.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that's just the nature of the beast when it comes to sales, right? You're bringing the business income. Of course, you're going to get a cut. A lot of the engineers, the IT guys hate it. Sometimes they're like, "Oh, the sales guys make too much." Listen, Mr. Engineer, you do a great product, but someone's got to sell it, right? Right? Someone's got to sell it.
Someone's got to get the word out there.
Right. So I guess I just naturally gravitated towards sales. After bobsled was like a real moment of reflection of now what, right? Should I try another quad, another 4 years for the next Olympics? That was no longer being confident. It was riding the line of being delusional at 38, like trying to sprint with 28-year-olds. It's just not going to work. So I decided to do a short retirement. I had 3 years on the team, and it said, now what, right? Should I go back to personal training? Should I do what? So I spent a few months just kind of letting it kind of come to me. I think having mentors is really important. To kind of help you talk through it, coach you. And it led me to a sales gig for a startup through a private equity firm of like a Glock manufacturer.
Okay.
Custom Glock manufacturer. So like really niche, high-end, $1,500 Glocks at the time for just gun nerds. And it was easy, right? This is the product. This is what we do to it. Go to gun stores and sell it. And that's what I did for my first year after bobsled. And then it just kind of migrated through that with different sales gigs.
Have you ever been, have you always been extroverted? You ever been introverted and kind of transitioned? And is it like, or have you always been just like a people's person?
I think I've always been a people person. Yeah. I've always been a social butterfly. I do have moments when I want to be alone,
Yeah.
but if I'm alone too long, I need to be around people versus like, I'm around people for so long that I need to be alone, right? Mm-hmm. I'm the other way around. I like being alone, but after a day or two, I need to be around people.
So that's probably why you've gravitated, you've always been into athletics, then you got into the military, then bobsledding, all that's kind of been a team thing, and now you're in sales. That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah. And that's why I CrossFit, right? I work 100% remote. I'm in this office all day. I take walks, I walk the dog and all these things, but what about my people, right? And that's what CrossFit really fills that void. You go in the gym, there are no mirrors, there are no machines, there are no headphones. It's just people. You take class with the coach. It's very interactive. Everyone's doing the same workout. You coach, encourage each other, and you make friends, and it's just like a cool sense of community. There's always like barbecues and like the fundraisers and things like that. And it's a cool avenue to compete, right? I'll always be a competitor. I like doing CrossFit comps. There's tons of local comps. There's one in Miami called Waterpalooza I do every year. That one's just a blast because
cool.
Living up here in January, it's in Boston, it's freaking cold. So going out to Miami for a week to compete in the sunshine with your boys, sign me up.
Yeah.
So why CrossFit now, besides taking up bodybuilding again?
Yeah, I wanted the true competition aspect of it, right? CrossFit still gives me that feeling of training for performance, right? You have X amount of exercises that you need to do for time. And, I've gotten good at knowing where I stand that day, not to push it, not to get hurt. Pretty good at not getting injured these days. Granted, I'm 41, but I've been CrossFitting for 5 years, and it was a long learning curve. Because at first it's just all gas, no brakes, and now my muscles are fatigued, but I have all this mental strength. What happens? You get hurt, right? You get hurt. You don't know how to take days off, all these things, but you learn as you go. And on top of that, when I compete in CrossFit, I can do the Masters Division, and I get to stay away from these young bucks. Yeah.
Have you adopted, I see right now, and I've actually partaked in it, doing like the cold plunging, the saunas and all that stuff to help with recovery. Do you do any of that stuff?
So I don't own a cold plunge. I'd like to. I don't have a sauna either. I'd like to. we just bought a house a couple months ago. I got a nice basement space that I think I'm going to put a sauna. Obviously, like a cold plunge is good. The science is great. Maybe not right after you work out. Let the body temp come down. Let the body heal.
Yeah.
Like in the mornings, it sets your day. I think that stuff's awesome. But you don't need to spend $6,000 on a tub. Take a cold shower. Like
For real, yeah.
a cold shower. You're going to get the benefits almost the same. I think this, we have fads we see as the years go by, and I think cold plunge is a big one right now. I think it's a little overplayed. The first thing is sleep and nutrition, right? If those two things aren't in order, stop messing around with cold tubs. Get your life in order before you. I look at a cold plunge like I look at a supplement, protein powder, or a creatine.
Okay.
It's to supplement your good diet. That's how I view all that stuff.
Oh, I know you had went from the Army to bobsledding. You had college. Then you went to now you CrossFitting. Did you ever have time to solve any issues with the VA?
Yeah. I get a disability rating with the VA, and I see the VA. I go in at least twice a year. I go do my blood work. I talk to my doc. I see a therapist every now and then.
Mm-hmm.
I have someone there. But all is okay. I think I'm good. I asked my wife if I'm normal. She says no. She says no, you're not.
She'll let you know. She definitely will let you know.
Oh yeah.
I think humor is the best form of remedy. Dark humor for sure. I mean, she's already used to me, but people at the gym know I'm nuts, but in a good way, I think. And then I have to kind of put a plug on it during work, but every time we meet for our quarterly business reviews in person, and then we go out to dinner and then have some drinks, then real Lou comes out and they're like, holy moly, you're insane, dude. Yeah, what are you gonna do? We're all a little messed up. You just gotta learn to live with it, right? Embrace it and move on, and dude, just be a good person. Think before you do, right? Break it down. Like when you're in a fight, you have to break it down. Where am I? What are my assets? What's the best avenue to handle this? When you're out in public and you have an altercation, do the same thing. I'm not gonna walk into a restaurant and freak out because I'm not noticing all the exit points and I'm not pointed towards the front door. I don't care about that anymore. I do a couple look arounds and do it. We're in society. Things are probably going to be fine. And as the years have gone by, I've never been in a real altercation because I think, like, when you're involved in a fight or in a rough, like you might attract it, right? You might be looking for it and you don't even know it. Like, don't walk through a bar like you're a tough guy. Sure. Why? You don't even know who you're talking to. This guy can be 5'4" UFC dude that'll rough you up, or just a regular guy that's a nut with a knife and doesn't care to use it. Right? And the next thing you know, your girl's stabbed or something bad happens. And now what? And all you have to do is just go about your day and not worry about it. Right?
Good advice.
What are you doing, like, tough guy?
Yeah. I think it goes back to what you were saying as well in the beginning about how you feel like you mask things. You mask certain trauma.
Yeah.
But I think the positive thing is that you have hobbies to take time, to occupy your time with things that's improving yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Just burying things in your heart, not bringing them up, could lead to dormant feelings and explosion, right? So yes, you need to have a sense of purpose, and you need to figure it out. Maybe you go hunting, maybe you join a paintball team, you join a martial arts studio, or you start painting. I don't know. Figure it out. There's got to be something for you post-military that you can enjoy doing. There's got to be. If not, you're not looking.
That's right.
You start cooking. I don't know. Figure it out. Go dancing. Maybe you want to learn how to Zumba or something. I don't know.
I've seen some veterans that can't figure it out because they can't let go of the past.
Yeah, man. You need to stop living off who you were. because that's not who you are today. That's not who you are. You can't be the Al Bundy of like in high school, I scored 4 touchdowns, or in this case, what you did in college.
That's a
You
fact.
can't do that. You know, you
Well,
can't.
I think as us as we get older, we got to constantly evolve. You know,
That's right.
we got to constantly evolve as a person. We got to constantly evolve as a father, as a husband,
That's right.
spiritually. You know, I think because just like you said, you can't live in the past all the time.
You can't shape your identity off who you were, because it's just going to eat you alive, because you're not that person.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one of my buddies, they have kids, and sometimes we have conversations. It's like, man, I'm working, I'm raising my kid, life just stinks, man. I wish I could just go assault a raid a village like old times. I'm like, nah, bro, that's not gonna happen. Like, why don't you maybe you want to golf, or I don't know. Like, you got to figure it out, and you can't. The last thing you need to do is remedy it with alcohol, because that's going to numb the pain, and then it's going to be worse after. And these guys are in this cycle. They don't want to express themselves because it's not being tough, and that's a problem. It's okay to voice your concerns and talk to somebody. Like, dude, I bet you if you talk to your friend, he's been going through the same crap, and you guys can relate, and it's okay to express yourself. You know what I mean? You're not being sensitive. You're just being a human. Right.
I really like how you highlighted you go see a therapist, because a lot of people think, therapist is a bad thing. After going through the stuff that we've been through, I think a lot of veterans are scared to go sit down on somebody's couch and just talk. When I got out, I sat down on the couch and I talked, and that helped me immensely.
Yeah. So with therapy, they're doctorates, right? They're like mechanics. Some are better than others, right? And it does depend. At first, I was like, I don't want to talk to a stranger that's reciting some theory from a textbook, and that's how I felt. But then I was like, okay, let me just go talk to him. The VA asked me to. Why don't I do it? This is backed by like research, and maybe there's a point here. And then so I talked to a couple different ones, and it did make a difference, because you can kind of relate to some better. Maybe you just feel more comfortable. Maybe you're just staring at this person, you're not getting a good vibe, and you're like, I don't want to be more talking to this guy. He probably has more problems than me, right? But when you find someone you can talk to, like they could take your experience and they can like reword it in a different way that you haven't thought about, and that's the beauty of psychology, and that's their craft, and that's what they're there for, to just give you perspective, make you think a different way, make you realize that things can get better, right? And that's them doing their occupation. And enough guys just don't see it that way. If the VA has these resources, why don't you use it? Like, why?
And the VA's gotten a lot better over the years, because the VA I go to is amazing. I'm here in Clarksville, Tennessee, and we have our VA's really good. They facilitate everything that I need, and I have no complaints, honestly.
Yeah, that's good. Good.
Yeah.
Lou, looking back over your journey, what advice would you give some young soldiers who are, athletes, and they're inspired to push boundaries and excel in multiple fields like yourself?
Yeah. It's cliche, but it's true. Like, you can really set off and do whatever you want, but you need to have a plan, a realistic reverse timeline of how you're going to get this done. And you need to have real mentors that can show you. If you think you don't have mentors, you haven't looked. There's someone out there that will talk to you, or that can point you in the right direction if you just reach out. But having someone giving you perspective and having a real timeline of stepping stones, how are you going to get there? Pretty much anything really is doable. We're all given a different deck of cards, and we all have different genetic traits, right? So we are limited. That's just the nature of the beast. But like, if you're genuinely in love with something, you can go be it. Like, on one end, I love being a quarterback. I want to go play for the Pats. Probably not. It's not going to happen. But like, Like, look, like Tiger Woods is a crazy story, right? If you watch his documentary, his dad would strap him to the baby chair and just watch him hit shots in the garage for years, feed him, watch me. And then the kid, by the time he was walking, he could grab a club and just, and like basically the rest is history, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like he had mentors. His dad was a military guy. His buddy, who was an admiral, was like a psychological warfare shrink or something, and he like coached Tiger on the mental aspect of how to like tune in and be your best under pressure. So I mean, that's just one example, but like if you find yourself dreaming, there's a way to make a plan. There's a way. You can't just think you're going to do it, fail, and get discouraged and be like, oh, my life sucks. I can't. There's nothing for me to do. That's what separates success and not, right? That's the line. In social media is just wild today. Like everyone's perfect, everything is great, everyone's a rock star, and it's just not the reality. Everyone's full of BS.
Yeah, a lot of people don't post their struggles they have on social media. They just post, all the good stuff. Well, you don't know what they're going through.
I think I'm guilty of that too. I mean, for a while, my social media was just a highlight reel, and maybe I could have posted my trials and tribulations, right? And maybe that would have connected with a lot more people. But I guess it comes down to it's hard doing that. I guess it's hard to do that. But my advice to these young kids, instant gratification is not the way to go about it. In today's age, you want things done right away. And you're just going to have to put in the work, and you're going to have to figure it out. Einstein said it best: doing the same thing over and over again, getting a different result is the definition of crazy. So when you fail, figure it out and do it a different way. Go about it a different way, and then you can slowly get there. Yeah.
Brother, I appreciate you, man, for coming on the show, and also for sharing your story, because the world needs more no shortcuts type of guys.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, hard work, great work ethics, and that right there shows the type of character you have as well.
Yeah.
So I would say, to be honest, man, you're more than just a people person. You're a lighthouse. And I encourage you to keep shining, brother, because you're very inspiring and very encouraging. And I know where you are in your life. A lot of veterans need to see this, and they will see this, and they will be inspired as we are. So we appreciate you for coming on.
Thanks, man. Yeah, and I don't have it all figured out. I'm still in like a now what phase. I'm just gonna work sales. Like there's never this happy ending like the movies, right? I'm still a different guy with all my history, and now I'm working like, oh, I'm nothing now. I could have those thoughts. I do, but CrossFit Masters helps me compete. That's a cool avenue. I look forward to being a dad, relaying all my knowledge and having that fatherhood experience that I see all my friends have. All my friends tell me the same thing. They're like, having a kid is the best thing. And I can't wait to say that over all of my accolades, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine. I can only imagine it, right? It's going to be cool. So I look forward to that. That's my next thing, I guess.
Yeah, that's good, man. Just the fact you're not self-medicating to figure it out.
Yeah, no. And I love wine. I'm a big wine. I do a lot of research on wine. I like fine wine, but I have a rule. I don't drink during the week.
Oh, that's good.
I'm having a beer now for the podcast because but Monday through Friday I don't drink, and on the weekends I have some wine or some beers.
Yeah, whenever we was going to start this endeavor, you were one of the people I thought of. I was like, I definitely want to get Lou on because you're definitely a really good success story as far as veterans, and definitely a role model for soldiers getting out and trying to pursue something other than the military. Because when you get out, you have that military structure, 6:30 PT, 9 o'clock, you show up, motor pool, whatever you do your training, then 1700 you're off going to do whatever you do. You have that structure, and then when you get out, it's like, well, what do I do now? Right. So you did a lot, bobsledding, bodybuilding, and everything, and I was like, man, I really want to get Lou on, and you were one of the first people I really thought of, and I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your story, brother.
You bet. Yeah, man. And for all these young kids who do 2-3 years and then they want to get out, they don't know why. They just, maybe they're sick of their toxic leadership, or their military is not going the way they thought it was, and they want to get out just because they want to get out. That's a recipe for disaster. What's your plan? You're in a situation where you have stability, you have a family, you have a support system, and you have room to grow. I don't know. I only know the 82nd Airborne Infantry. I don't know anything else. I've seen guys who've stayed in full military careers and they've done the coolest things. Whether you're off to some other duty station and you're exploring all these sites, or you become a recruiter or a drill sergeant, or you get put in some, I don't know, some training station and you're just riding out like a cush job. I don't know. It just has a lot to offer. So you need to have a plan if you're going to get out, because that's a big step.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Awesome.
Well, you got anything else, John?
Yes, sir, man. We appreciate you, man, for coming to share your story on Swaggy Vets, man. And I wish you the best for your future endeavors, man. I know you're gonna knock it out the park, brother. Thanks,
gentlemen. It was my pleasure. Anytime.
Awesome. All right, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate the love. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.
Salute.